Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, then just welcome. My name is Chileona, and my YouTube is based on genealogy and American Indian content. As y'all know, I am an American Indian and I speak about American Indian history. And this channel pertains to Aboriginal American people and our experiences, right? And so I also came across this video on my Twitter page. And if you aren't following me on my social media page, I suggest you do on Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Here are my links on the screen. Go ahead and follow me after you watch this video. But nonetheless, um, Pan Africanists, Moors, and even $5 Indians or natives, they love to attack Aboriginal American people about our identity because of the assumed notion that everyone that is dark skinned is African. People love to push the narrative that if you are of darker skin tone or you have darker you melanin, that you can't claim anything outside of African. We see this literally all the time, and surprisingly, it's a Moor that is pushing an African narrative on a Aboriginal American. And like I tell y'all guys, I do not associate with the Moors. I do not mess with the Moors like that. Now, am I saying all of them are bad people? No, I just don't like the message that they bring. Although I do feel like Moors are knowledgeable in certain areas, I don't look to Moors to tell me who I am and my racial identity. Because y'all know I tell y'all genealogy, using genealogy provides evidence of one racial identity and ancestry. You cannot use DNA ancestry tests to prove that you are Native American. And I don't know how many times I have to say it. I don't know how many times I have to prove it. But many websites, many scientists, and even 23andMe made a blog talking about how you can't prove Native American ancestry using a genetic ancestry test. Therefore, if a person wants to prove Native American or Aboriginal American ancestry, they have to use their genealogy records to do that. So in this video, I'm going to show y'all are going to see a Aboriginal man clapping back at a Moor, or should I say African, should I say, because being a Moor is literally African, and I don't care if you trying to say being a Moor is Aboriginal American. It's not. Aboriginal American people, we did not call ourselves Moors. We called ourselves after our tribal names and our tribal identity. And I don't know why people like to push narratives like we call ourselves Black, Indian, colored, Negro. Like, those terms came from foreigners, and Aboriginal American people identified with their tribes before foreigners even came into the picture. And this is why learning about American Indian history is so important, because if you don't know the history, you will literally fall for anything that is told about Aboriginal American people. So this man did his genealogy research, and most likely he was telling people, I am of American Indian descent, I'm Aboriginal American. And of course, a hating you melanated person, okay, probably who has probably American Indian ancestry themselves but don't want to acknowledge it, went on this man's page and was telling him, you are silly, you are African. And this man did the most iconic clapback, okay? Because he literally didn't even say anything. It's just him showing receipts. And I love that. I love that for him. So I'm going to go ahead and show y'all the video. It's pretty short, so it's not something extensive. But I want y'all to pay attention to the troll and how the troll got dismissed. So I'm going to show y'all the video. I'm going to come back with further commentary. So, before I go further off into my commentary, I want to discuss how this man right here, how he responded to this man proving his American Indian ancestry. This dude says they ignored the fact that the five civilized tribes owned slaves, and because of the 1866 treaty, the slaves of the tribes were made full members. That's the only reason they are native. Okay, first of all, I wanted to address this comment because, for one, the 1866 treaty was made to include quote unquote freemen people, but that did not happen. The slaves were not made to be full members, as we can see now. The descendants of freedmen people still have a hard time enrolling. So it's just so much bias. And not only bias, but racial bias when it comes to who can claim Aboriginal Americans' ancestry and who can't. Because people have all these made up scenarios about American Indian history and how things went down. And just because um, Cherokee Nation signed the 1866 treaty saying that they were going to give freedmen people full membership rights and benefits doesn't mean that that happened. We can still see with Cherokee Nation that they just now recently starting to accept the quote unquote black natives or freedmen. So I find it very disingenuous when people make comments like this because it makes it seem like, oh, well, we've been full members of the tribe. And although that is true to some degree, before colonization, of course, we were full members because that's who we are, that's where we come from. But because of assimilation, but because of colonization, things got misconstrued and things were forgotten and erased out of history. And this is why it's so important for Aboriginal American people to do their research because this man, he clapped back so hard and dismissed that troll, and he didn't even have to say a word. And my thing is, he shouldn't even have to post information about his family to this extent to prove that he is Aboriginal American because no one's not going to the $5 Indians, the mestizos, the mixed white people, and asking them to prove their ancestry to the extent of how they do Aboriginal American people. I don't necessarily like it when Aboriginal American people post all their ancestral genealogical information out there, but by all means, clap back at these trolls and these racists and these misinformed people because they're going to get enough of creating fake scenarios and spreading misinformation about Aboriginal American people. And I think it's funny how people love to say African Americans or Black Americans or whatever you want to call us can't trace our ancestry to our third great grandparent. But however, this man was able to trace his ancestry back to his third great grandmother. And not only that, but his third great grandmother was an American Indian. And he has the paperwork to prove it. So I don't get why people are being so disingenuous and being so hateful towards American Indian people. But then again, I do get it because the person that called this man an African is a person that most likely does not know their ancestry. Because I checked out this person page and it's just kind of all over the place. And he calls himself a Moor. So anybody that's going around calling themselves a Moor really don't know their ancestry like they claim they do because being a Moor is not a tribe. There were Europeans calling Aboriginal American people Moors, but that doesn't mean that we are Moors. It does not mean that we come from Morocco and Africa and European or Europe or whatever. So this is the thing. We have a whole bunch of hating Africans, Moors, and so may have you attacking Aboriginal American people about our identity. And I feel like this man said it perfectly. Don't disrespect my ancestors because you don't know who you are. And that's exactly what it is. These people are mad and jealous because we know who we are and they don't. I mean, shoot, I'd be mad too if everybody was finding out who they are and doing their genealogy and doing the historical research while I'm just repeating what I heard from other people like I'm a parakeet. You have to do your genealogy research to know more about yourself because DNA ancestry tests, they're not even going to tell you half the information that this man knows about his ancestry, like how he did his research, because DNA ancestry tests don't prove your racial identity. And secondly, a DNA ancestry test wouldn't even break down the names of your ancestors and show where they was enrolled, because DNA ancestry tests are not made for that. If you want to prove American Indian identity, you have to do it by genealogy. You have to do that by records. You have to do that by paper research. And this man did a great job on doing his research because he was able to not only locate his American Indian ancestor, but he also did further research on her name and saw that Tulula means leaping water in Choctaw. So this is why it's important that you have to do your research to know who you are. And genealogy is expanded in so many different ways. And it doesn't just stop with genealogy. You have to research the culture and the history of that culture as well. So that's all I have to say for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because these hating Africans and natives, they got some nerve just trolling on American Indian people's channels and posts. But again, our clapback game is so strong, and I'm so proud of Aboriginal American people standing up for themselves and standing in their power, because the days of us being quiet and letting people dictate to our identity, them days are over with. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video and share this video. Thank y'all guys for watching, and until the next time, bye.